We are now going to learn Photoshop. We're going to put a face into a situation or a scene. Now, your assignment is to put yourself into a masterpiece, or you could put someone you know or love into a masterpiece. But for the example's sake, I'm going to put Prof. Van Opstal into a photo of Legolas from The Lord of the Rings because I think they resemble. People say I'm crazy, but let's just see. So the first thing I'm going to do is I've downloaded several pictures of Prof. Van Opstal, and I put them in my Finder. And if you look at the numbers, you can see the resolution is the highest for this one, probably because it was a professional photo. I really like these others though. 720 by 480, those are not bad. So I'm going to see just how it looks. I'm going to drop this one into Photoshop. I was playing around with this one, which I really liked too. Let's take that away. But I just don't think the resolution is there. So I'm just going to get rid of that. Let's try that again. Go back and I'm going to drop both of these into Photoshop. This one first. And now this was the biggest one that I could find of him. So I'm just going to take his head, image, crop, and there's one head. That's not bad. Let's go ahead and go with that. So he is looking the opposite way from a photo that I found of Legolas. So maybe I can find a better Legolas photo. Let's see what we can do. Legolas. We go to images, and we're going to try and find one that's large. So the way that you find that out is you say more, or settings, tools, size. So I'm going to say large. I want a large one. Okay, so we want a large photo, and we kind of want him to be having his head tilted to the right a little bit. And possibly a good coloring. So head tilted to the right a little bit. Preferably we want a whole picture of him with his body, etc. And frankly, I don't like any of these. I'm going to go back to the one that I had earlier. So I have this on the screen here. And I'm going to drop it in. I'm going to drop it into Photoshop like down at the bottom of my screen so that it doesn't go right on top of his head. So in other words, I have two different photos here. I think that's nice. So he's going the wrong way though. So I'm going to take image. I'm going to say flip canvas, whoops, vertically, edit, undo. Image, flip canvas, horizontal. Now that is better. He looks like he would be better suited for this picture. All right, so first thing we have to do is, I can make it a little bigger, we need to take his head off of his body. So what I'm going to do is take the quick select tool. I'm going to make it as big as possible, and you can make the quick select size as big as you want, hardness, spacing, etc. So this is the easiest way to do it. I'm just going to go around him like that. That was not hard. I missed his ears though. So I'm going to go Option, hold down the Option key, and make sure that I get his ears. And you know, looking at this photo, it's still kind of blurry. I guess because it was so big because it was the whole family. Well, we may have to do several photos. Let's just see how this one works. All right, now for the moment, I'm just going to leave everything but I'm just going to take his head. Okay, so now we can take this tool, which is the Move tool, and this is so cool. I can lift, oops, it's not going to let me do it. Okay, the layer's locked. If this lock is on, I just double click it, and now it is not locked. Now I lift, I want to cut then image, crop. Okay, then I go image. How about we just copy it in case we want to come back. Nope. Let's try that again. Okay, image, select, inverse, and I delete. That was wrong. Step back. So I do not inverse it. Edit, step backward. I'm just going to delete. There. Now he's got a floating head. Now I can take the move tool and I can lift it and I hover over the other picture slightly and I can just come drop it in. So that was pretty easy. Now, you may know this, I can turn this in whatever way I need to, but we still don't know exactly how correct this is. So that, generally speaking, looks right. But what I can do is I can take the opacity and I can see that Legolas's eyes are much bigger and higher. So I think his head needs to be bigger. So I'm going to hold down the Shift key, pull a corner so that I keep the proportions right, and then pull it back down. And I think that's pretty close. Especially, you can tell by the eyebrows. Okay, so Prof. Van Opstal's head does look a little bit bigger than Legolas's, but his hair is not going down flat on his head. So I'm going to click this, yes, and then I'm going to make the opacity higher. But now we see that he really needs a little refining here. And of course there's the ear there. So I'm going to go away. I'm going to take that away by taking the eyeball and pressing it. One thing we can do now is we can use the stamp tool because we need to get rid of that ear. So if I clone the stamp tool, I just choose Option and I press down. Oops, there we go. Clone cannot use because no layers are selected. There we go. No layers. Okay, I push Option and click the background. Then I can stamp right on top of his ear as many times as I want, and I get rid of that ear. The ear is no longer there. Okay, let's put his head back on and see. Okay, that looks better. Better. All right. Now what I want to do is I want to get rid of the background. This is I'm going to do the refine edge. Let's see. Go back to this tool. And if this tool is selected, you can push refine edge. So I'm going to go, oops, back on this layer. I'm going to go around his head again. Doesn't want to click his head. There we go. Click on his head. Now I'm going to push refine edge. What happens is we see really how poorly this is selected. So we're going to smooth our edges. We're going to feather our edges so it doesn't look quite so strange. We can also use a smart radius. And so that means, does the edge pull out? Does it go back? We can shift the edge out a little bit or shift it in a little bit. I think in is good. And I'm going to push OK. Now if I open this up, it looks not too bad. But let's take this marching ants away by clicking on the select, deselect. All right, that's not too bad. Now what we do need though is we need Legolas's hair. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to erase what we see of Prof. Van Opstal's hair. So we can do that many ways, but the eraser tool is actually not a bad way. So I can push the eraser tool onto this layer only and start erasing it. Now this is not very opaque, so I need to pull the opacity back up and just start erasing. And hopefully we will start seeing Legolas's head. We are. Now, I'm going to go ahead and make this really opaque, and I'm going to make this brush smaller. So we really want to get rid of this completely. Up here and up here. There's a little bit of a red line also around Prof. Van Opstal, so we have to get rid of that later. So there's really many ways to do this. This is just one way, and you'll see from the videos I'm including. This is probably the simplest. Okay, so now we start seeing the blonde hair of our boy, and that's what we want. We want Prof. Van Opstal to be blonde now. That's great. And now we have all these little hairs too sticking out, which is good. Now, see, I have the background select. I'm going to just go like this, and I'm going to very simply, let's make it really big and make the brush much smaller and hard. I want to just, it's even still too big. I want to just get rid of this red that I see around his beard. And then there's something going on here. I'm not sure what. Quite a bit of red here. I think I'll make it really small and really hard because I don't want to lose his beard or the size of his ear. Really tiny. I can come and get these. I think that's good enough. So, also at this point, I think I'm going to go Image, Adjustments, and I want him to be a little sharper. So I can say, let's see, Layer, Adjustment Layer, Image, Adjustments. Okay. How about filter? Let's do a sharpen filter. So we want to sharpen. There, we see his face much more. And this, I think we're going to do this cloning tool again. So we come over here, we make the cloning tool small. We want to clone probably part of this ear. So I'm going to hold down the Option and just take a little picture. And then I can lay down some beard there because that's looking strange. Okay, very good. I think I'm pretty happy with that. So let's go back and see if there's anything else we need to play with before we give him his head. All right, so we can see that this isn't quite working here. That ear is much bigger. So we can do one of two things. We could take the selection tool and just pick his ear, and if we want him to really be, you know, Legolas, we could push the transform tool, and then we could play around and make his ear more elfish and larger and see what that does. Is that enough? Select, deselect, and then we can look. I think that did it. Now he still has that light around his beard. Why is that? If we take away his face, that's just his beard. Okay. All right, so what we'll do that now is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make this be one piece so that I can play around with this beard a little bit better. So layer, I'm going to say merge visible. That means I can still get back and take them back apart if I want to. So I'm going to merge visible, and I'm going to do the same thing again with the eraser, just right around here. No, I'm not. I'm going to use the blend tool or the blur tool. How about that? If I blur this a little bit, Does that red really jump out? Not so much. Just blur it a little bit. There we go. That's blurred. That's blurred. That doesn't jump out as much. I'm going to make it really tiny. And I'm going to use a dodge tool. Let's see. No, I'm going to use the dodge tool. Burn tool. And try to see if I can make this a little bit darker. See, this is what it does. Okay. Dodge tool. Maybe I had that wrong. Okay. This is what the dodge tool does. It will make something lighter. And the burn tool makes it obviously burned. So I'm going to go edit, undo the dodge tool because I don't want that there. And I'm going to do burn again. I can just burn this darker, burn this darker. So you can see that we could play for hours and hours on this. But I think for this general idea, you can see how to do this. I'm going to also blur the edge of his ear just a little bit. Make it really tiny, just because this looks a little strange. There we go. Just blurring it just a little. There we go. And now we have Prof. Van Opstal is Legolas. Honestly, though, I think he's really too yellow. So let's do this. Let's choose just his face. And use the Shift key. Oops. Use the Option key. And just choose his rather yellowish face. Okay. I might as well go ahead and get his whole face, just in case something else happens. All right. I would like this to be just a little less yellow. So what we can do is we can make an adjustment, image, adjustments, and we can play around with the color bounds. So we could say, I want less yellow, so that means I go more for the blue. And I think that did it. I think he looks like he belongs in this particular scene. So we say, okay, take away the select, deselect, and does it look okay right there? It looks fine. I'm not going to be that picky. So now we go all the way back, and there we have it. File, I'm going to save as Legolas Van Opstal, and then I'm going to make it a JPEG. Now sometimes when you save things in Adobe Photoshop, it will save as a Photoshop. You don't want that. You'd always want a JPEG. So I'm going to push save, okay, and that's it. So look at the 3 videos that I have for you and see what you think about them. There are many different ways to do this. This is by far, I think, just the easiest. But see what you think. Over and out. QuickTime Player.